That hurricane headed to Florida is something else.
I'm reading stats that like the pressure is like fifth biggest in history.
Oh,
like
please. I love how they throw that pressure number out there. Like we know what an MB is. Oh, it's over. It's 800 MB, guys. And everybody watching CNN is supposed to be like, never seen one like that. 800.
Well, I mean, it's similar to the Katrina number.
Megabytes?
Katrina was a big one.
It might be my, things next to you are a big deal. North Carolina got hit hard.
Yeah.
And so I have two friends that live in Asheville, and the political disinformation that flies around there is wild. They're telling there's no help. You're only getting $750. Biden doesn't care about you or whatever that is they're saying. They're politicizing it and spreading disinformation, and it's kind of sick.
Are they saying they haven't gotten money yet?
They got money. There's money in their pockets. That's hard to deny. But they're saying there's no aid coming. The National Guard isn't there. And then there's footage of Chinooks landing and forklifts. Go ahead, Kyle.
At some higher level, someone flips a switch and goes, okay, the new propaganda is this. They only get $750. Meanwhile, these countries get this billion, that billion, and this 100 million. Make sure we pump that. Make some memes about it. Yeah.
Is that propaganda?
Just have the AI do it. And that's just rampant. And of course, it's all true except for the part where it's an initial $700 where they're like, boom, everybody gets $750. All right, now we're going to figure out what comes next.
There are some people living week to week. Mm-hmm. So they give you walk up, they hand you a $750 gift card.
Yeah.
Right? Right out of the gate. Do you need diapers? Do you need food? Do you need whatever? And you're out of work right now, because you're work. So that's what the $750 is. And there's very little checks on who gets it. They just, because that would slow things down. We don't want to spend 6 weeks figuring out if you are eligible for diaper money. Mm-hmm. And that's what the 750 is. But Trump is out there saying, oh, you lose your house, that's all they're giving you. Trump aired an ad where Kamala explained the 750, but they cut her off. You're going to get 750 and then cut. It's not even mentioning the rest of the relief that's coming.
Wow. Dishonest editing. That's crazy.
Pointing out her $770 belt.
Yeah, I saw that.
More than the average.
Dude, your candidate's a billionaire born with a silver spoon who had someone else take his SATs for him. And they're like, her belt's kind of pricey.
You're so ridiculous. Yeah, man. What I saw people criticizing it for was they were like, oh, FEMA doesn't have the requisite budget to hand out all they're going to need to. And then I saw people pointing to FEMA's been using a lot of their money to resettle migrants and pay for that. And so that's been used as yes, it is.
Yeah, that's all true too.
Yeah.
That's phase 2. That's the second thing that's being pushed, which is all right, we'll give FEMA some more money. Don't worry. Out of our left pocket into our right. By the way, we're printing it in the back room. It'll be fine. What I'm worried about is how many people are going to die. People are going to die.
Probably a lot.
And honestly, because they're Floridians, it's little good, little bad, So, but the dogs, I worry about the dogs that get left. There's that story about Katrina. They told everybody to evacuate and leave your dogs here at this facility, and then we'll take care of them. And the people all evacuated and left their dogs, and then the police went in and executed all the dogs because it's their favorite thing to do. They just murdered all of the Katrina dogs.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true, but
you want to bet money that it's not.
No, I would believe that, but I've never heard it.
I just said it. Why would I lie to you, Taylor? I wouldn't lead you astray.
You're right.
Isn't it tough, Taylor, when you hear something new for the first time, but there's a real chance it's not?
It's
that doesn't sound right that they just come and murder all the dogs, but sometimes things that don't sound right are right. The infrastructure is the thing that gets me. So Interstate 40 in North Carolina is 85 by Kyle, and I don't know Taylor's roads, but it's a big one.
40.
It's a big central 40. Okay. Left to right. It's one of the coast to coast. It's going to be shut down for a year.
That's disastrous.
Yeah. That's a really big
so
deal.
Important.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
It's the avalanches that cause it, the mudslides. I guess they have to reshape the mountain in the restoration process. I'm way outside of my depth, but
where's this happening? In North Carolina?
Western North Carolina, yeah.
Damn.
Near Asheville, yeah. So now hopefully it's wrong, and I don't know.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. This is a major thoroughfare, or this is one of those mountain roads that you could go around?
Interstate 40? Yeah, it is a coast-to-coast major. Yeah.
You know how our interstate system works with the the tiered horizontal roads. Like it's one of the major big ones.
It might be the biggest of the big ones. Like 40 and 20
yeah.
to me are the huge ones.
Yeah, Interstate 64 might be the most important
64?
thoroughfare in America. Yeah, 64 and 40 are the same one.
Well, I did see the North Carolina was hit really hard in a weird way.
It's called 64 here.
It seemed like a lot of areas were really vulnerable to all that flooding and that they hadn't experienced anything like that before. And then it's just, for those who don't know, when you've got like a big sporadically populated country area like that, they don't keep the limbs off the power lines, and we have elevated power lines. So you get hundreds of limbs down on lines across this huge area. And we had power out for a week one time, and it was so upsetting. Living without electricity is, you can see how like
it's not Interstate 40.
You can see how you get to the Walking Dead times. You know what I mean? Like just a week without electricity, and you're like, I couldn't do 6 months of this. That'd be a problem.
You know that one guy in the House of Rep who does a pretty good job of like talking on TikTok about what's going on? Jeff Jackson is his name. I'm positive you'd be like, oh yeah, I've watched him 7 times. Anyway, he was talking about it, and he's like, 90% of the people have their power back. That last 10% is going to be hard, and it can be weeks, if not over a month. I'm like, okay, that's what's up.
Yeah,
I saw some people saying that like because this one popped up so quickly, like the response time isn't there the way it is with some of the other ones. Is that what you've heard?
The Milton or the one?
Milton.
Well, I mean, that would be a weird thing to say because it hasn't.
Because they've already,
and we've been talking about it for days, and there's days more before it hits. It's hitting tomorrow and the next day. So that's silly. Like we're not.
I wanted to know like what's the normal lead time on a hurricane? Because my first thought when I heard that was like, yeah, but they just had a hurricane there, so like everyone's probably
this is the average lead time on a hurricane. Because what you're really talking about is the lead time on when you see it's actually going to be a Category 4 or something serious that needs to be evacuated, because they write out Category 3s down there. Like, so you've got 2 or 3 days. That's what it always is. They're like, oh, hurricane blah 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 is strengthening suddenly just before it strikes Panama. Y'all better leave. It's 2 or 3 days. So
yeah, the problem is if you look like 8 or 9 days out, it's like, all right, there's a thing that might be a hurricane, and it's going to hit somewhere between Florida and New York. Like, how much do you get ready for that?
That's true. It'd be like, oh man, I hope the roads aren't totally impassable by the time we realize it's an issue here.
There's a lot of politicization.
If it weren't for like all the millions of people who are going to have their lives destroyed, likely, like hurricanes are such a cool natural disaster. Like I love watching the water. It's same as tsunamis.
You don't even know
in the water.
Hear scary.
The power of of water moving stuff. I could just watch videos like that for hours, where it just picks up a car and just moves it gently.
So the eye of this thing is 3.5 miles wide. I think I read,
and apparently that's not a big eye, which means it's stronger.
Tiny.
Exactly. Yeah. So in there, there are so many birds trapped in the eye that you can see them on radar. And they are flying endlessly in circles, unable to stop, eat, or drink until they die.
Whoa. Did you see the airplane that flies through the hurricane?
I did not recently, but I'm aware that there's like a special plane that NOAA
I saw footage that was labeled as, that plane flying through Hurricane Milton. And, for all I know, it's from like 6 hurricanes ago. I can't timestamp it, but it was kind of neat because these are people who fly through hurricanes. That's their day job. That's their thing. And they're like, whoa, like holding on to the sides. Like this is not an everyday hurricane. This is a big one. And it's falling over. I'm like, it's a hurricane plane. Why is your stuff not secured to the walls?
There should be magnets or something. Like
this plane's not equipped for turbulence. It's a hurricane airplane. Come on.
So what, I don't know Storm Chaser lore or jobs at all. Like, what is the purpose of sending a manned plane out to fly through the
readings? They fly up really high. They're up above it, but they're taking readings that can't be taken otherwise.
Interesting. I would have thought it'd be in drone territory for that kind of thing by now.
You would think, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I bet we head towards drones. We're going to watch this footage.
We've already got the plane
when Zach cues it up. I know, but they seem to be at risk. If this thing goes down, there's no rescuing them.
It's got propellers.
I don't know what's better. Like, I bet they're.
If jets were better, they'd have them. Look, who are we talking about? Is this Bulgaria?
He looks concerned, doesn't he? Looking around.
That guy he does. He looks concerned.
Chair's made to bounce.
Dude, if I'm on, oh my God.
You see all this falling off the shelves and
this
stuff?
This is some SNL shit. This isn't real.
Are these like prisoners that we forced to do this? Like this is
a
absurd.
Reality show right here.
Dude, the propellers.
That server rack. That's cool.
Propellers are not the play, right? Like that just seems.
I don't know.
What are they doing with all those DVD players?
Fencing them.
I skipped ahead after that because it was right before the show. But just the concerned look on their faces, the stuff falling off the sides. It seemed like this wasn't an everyday hurricane. It's smooth above it.
It looks like they maybe got a little too spooked, and they're like, "Oh, let's go ahead and go get way higher."
You guys want to go up too? Yeah.
That was fun. If our boss asks, we stay down there the whole time, right, guys?
There's nobody.
I saw their flight path over it. They like go out and make a fish hook and like go through it. It's pretty neat. I'm sure they're flying real high up above it where it's turbulence.
In the end, they were. I think they were right in the heart of it.
Interesting. I
would be interested.
Well, not anywhere near where the storm is though, because the winds are 200 miles per hour. That would destroy.
That doesn't matter, right?
That matters greatly.
It doesn't.
But they're circular winds, and
who cares?
Physics?
No, like you're talking about to an airplane, 200-mile-an-hour winds are 0-mile-an-hour winds. You can only measure wind speed unless you're referencing the ground. Like you're just flying around in the current, much like if you were to swim sideways across a smooth river. Sure, the ground's moving underneath. It's otherwise just smooth laminar water flowing down.
Yeah.
You know.
But it would be like driving a jet ski across a river that's going 200 miles per hour.
Yeah. And really what's happening with the ground under the water has no relevance to you.
I wish to trust your aeronautical expertise.
What he's saying makes sense.
Like the way that plane is flying within 200 miles per hour winds, it's got to be like that plane's 30,000 feet up, like way up above like any crazy winds like that. Because I feel like it would destroy the plane.
Think about how giant.
I feel like if that plane flew through the winds and the storm clouds of the hurricane, it would be destroyed. That's just my guess. I could be completely wrong about this, but 200 miles per hour, like circular winds in the eye of a hurricane, I just don't. I mean, if they're flying through that, kudos, but I don't think they are.
So if it were think of it like a tornado versus a hurricane, that same plane flying through a tornado, it can't just hang out in the tornado because all that power is right there in that little cone that's like the same size as the plane. But in a hurricane, it's like hundreds of miles wide. So if they're just out in one of the wings flying through that, it's not like they're in like
3 miles wide. Like
yeah, but they're not just flying in the eye. They're flying going north. I saw the graph of where they go. They like hung out around the outside a lot too. They were kind of circling around it, and at the edge there, it's not like it's a vicious cyclone. It's just fast moving air in one direction, and the plane can handle that.
I just read an article about Virgin Airlines taking a commercial flight full of people in 200-mile-an-hour winds. It was the jet stream. The plane was going 800-mile-an-hour ground speed. Yeah. So tailwinds are like they're not even relevant to the plane. It only cares about airspeed. Of course,
tailwinds aren't. They love that. That's a big part of how
headwinds aren't relevant to the plane, unless you're worried about the ground. But to a plane, 200-mile-an-hour headwinds and tailwinds are the exact same thing.
But the headwinds become tailwinds within the course of if the plane was going 180 miles per hour, that's a mile every 20 seconds. The thing's 3 miles wide. Like we're very quickly changing headwinds to tailwinds. I feel like that's not going to work. But I've never. Flown.
I think have you seen the graph where it shows the path the plane takes? Because it's not like beelining for the eye. It's like it's taking a very circuitous route, like staying around the edges. Like it's not gung ho for the mayhem.
Like it went through there to me. I thought I saw it make like this fish hook.
That's what it is. Where like went, but it's like more on the outside of the storm.
I've seen them fly through the eye, but that was other hurricanes. I don't know if they use more caution in something like Milton.
I won't believe it.
When's the last time one of these hurricane planes went down? It seems like your kind of knowledge, Woody. Do you know?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Like last time one of these hurricane planes went down, if you can even remember a time.
Ever? I don't know. I've never heard of a plane like that going down.
Yeah, if it were that dangerous, I feel like we'd.
That's what I'm saying.
Either they're being very smart and staying on the outside because it'll be torn apart, and you're right, or it's just not as dangerous as we've been led because they're flying so much higher.
Regardless of what they're doing, they're not flying through the eye of that thing at low altitude.
Correct.
Well, anyway, because Floridians are Floridians. Poor Tampa. I've got friends down there. I should start calling them and see what.
My dad lives in Tampa.
Does he?
Well, he's in Missouri. He's in Missouri right now, but he's a little
concerned about the place in Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it's not his first rodeo. Would be.
Does he have any
Pokemon cards down there? Do you?
I believe he's got all the weather insurances.
Yeah. Does he have a mortgage?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay.
Are there any Pokemon cards stored there?
Oh, okay. He would hold. I missed
Charizards.
Oh no, all those are long lost. You know, if he does, they're hidden from me, so I don't care if they have to get destroyed.
What if he done that? He's like, son, I've had your cards all this time, and in my Tampa house. Unfortunately,
you know what's funny? If he actually had a couple of those holofoil Charizards that me and everyone had in the mid '90s, he would just be sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like everyone had those ones. Everyone had those,
and they're worth hundreds of thousands.
A couple of them is sold like in foil or like the Japanese version. What's his name? That boxer who's going to fight Mike Tyson wore the pendant of it.
I think his brother did, but yeah. I do like that as a nerd flex.
I think it's fun too.
Say he's going to fight Mike Tyson, but I don't. I'll believe it when I see it. Oh
when
my god!
Is it scheduled? Six planes lost in 1945. Since 1945, the most recent was 1974, 50 years ago. Okay.
Oh wow, been a while.
Yeah.
Maybe they're better at it now. Maybe the plane's better. I don't know.
Yeah, planes must have sucked then.
Oh,
yeah, Kyle, I feel like
number is.
We're like reveling in our ignorance. Oh, please. Like, I know what miles per hour are.
Yeah,
listen, who knows how fast 200 miles an hour winds are?
You might as well
I don't know.
800 Strongtum? No big deal. No big deal. Yeah, we all know what that means, right, guys? We're all smarty cats. No,
well, I think they put it in context when they say it's the fifth biggest ever.
Yeah.
At this point, I want to know what they are. I've been Googling and trying to figure out. I know it's the pressure.
Katrina's 3, I think.
But what is an MB? Like, I'm actually trying to find information here, not just like it's 900 MB.
It's millibars, right? Yeah.
Millibars?
It's a thousandth of a bar. Duh.
Okay, so
it's almost
any other unit that we're familiar with. Like make it ounces and centimeters in a vial. Like make it something else.
Yeah, U.S. pilots use something else. I forget. I don't really
watch a weather geeks. Bars. You losers! I saw that crying on CNN. It's 800 millibars. He started crying like woman, weeping openly like a woman.
That's ridiculous. I think it's amazing. I think it's rad. I think it's problematic that we have like giant hurricanes, but you know, it's
if it weren't for the millions of people who live there, it would be. Can you imagine how sick it would be to watch?
100 newtons per square meter. Is it 100? Is it 100 newtons per square meter per millibar?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm supposed to be? Like,
how many Stanley dollars is that? I'm still a little mixed.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone who writes an article like that and writes MB like we're supposed to know, turn it into pounds of TNT, something we're familiar with. I have no idea what an MB is, and I immediately I was like, everybody's just pretending like they know what MB are. Everybody in this whole chat, I scrolled hundreds of comments. And, thoughts and prayers.
You're too fixated on the MB part of it.
I hated it. I hated it so much. I spent an hour trying to figure out what an MB was, and I couldn't get on.
Dude, they already made a category for Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, Category 4, and this, Kyle, is Category 5. That's the highest number.
I want to know what I want them to use units that I am familiar with, or that anyone beyond the meteorologist is familiar with.
It stands for millibars, and it's a measure of air pressure. Normal air pressure at sea level is 1,013 millibars. Many hurricanes are at 980. This one's at 800.
Why not using PSI?
I don't know. I bet they're all like basically at 0.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it seems like a gargantuan storm. I get, those things feed on hot water, and those climate geeks will tell you that the Gulf is unusually warm, and it's supercharged this thing in a hurry. It does. They are saying it's going to be like the worst storm of all time.
Yeah,
they're really hyping this thing up.
I don't know about worst.
I don't know if they're going that over the top, but they're saying it's going to be a national disaster. They're saying it's going to be one of the biggest disasters in American history. The hurricanes put a ton of rain on us. It started raining yesterday and thundering, and it hasn't really stopped. Like there's standing water everywhere. I think we're just getting the very front of it too. I think we're going to have flooding here because the ground was really dry. and it doesn't seem to want to drink all this up.
It looks like the eye is making landfall right about now in the Gulf.
Panama, maybe? Down in like Panama City area, I think.
Tallahassee. Well, I've seen Tallahassee, but Panama City's not far.
Yeah.
So it's hitting America now.
Right now. Yeah. So the front of it, like way front of it, like the showers and storms that it's been creating started yesterday in Atlanta. That's how big the storm front is, I guess.
Did you show this, Zach?
Probably just bands of thunderstorms that are hitting us, but I hate it when it rains this much. It's just nasty outside. My dogs don't want to go out.
I like a good thunderstorm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you scroll out and go down to Florida? My link must have been bad. There we go. You can see it making landfall there.
Oh, we haven't used this website in forever. I remember for some reason we were really into it. There was a hurricane season maybe where we had like a catastrophic one, and I remember getting really into this site.
I look at it all the time for paramotor stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
So what is that? What's the estimated damage looking like in Florida?
What was the strength? What was the strength of the storm? Was it a 3?
You're asking me? I don't know. I just had a picture of it. I thought it was good. I can look it up.
Later on, we're going to hear from Woody. He's going to tell us about the strength of the storm. He's going to tell us all about the strength of the storm. A lot of pressure on him these days. People's lives are at risk.
Helena? Maybe? How do you pronounce it? Cat 4. Goodness, it's a big one.
What is it? Hurricane?
Cat 4. Hurricane. I don't know this word. Helene? Helene?
Oh, Helene.
Yeah.
Helene? Have you ever met anyone named Helene?
No, but I've seen characters that are named Helene. I think maybe.
I looked up Hurricane Helene on Google. There was a Hurricane Helene in 1958 that happened also on September 26th.
What? Wow.
Yeah, 1958 Hurricane Helene.
It must not have killed anyone. I think this time it might. Cat 4.
That's crazy.
I wonder how long it goes before they reset through the names again. They go in alphabetical order, I think. So
if it kills someone, they don't use the name again.
This one was a Cat 4.
What?
Cat 4 intensity on nearing the United States East Coast. The hurricane quickly attained Category 4 intensity on September 26th before it subsequently reached its peak intensity with maximum sustained winds of 150 miles an hour. Yeah, holy cow. Came within 10 miles of Cape Fear, North Carolina before recurving out to sea.
Oh, so a narrow miss, huh?
It says it caused a lot of problems in North Carolina despite not making landfall. I'm reading this rapidly. But yeah, that's great. Well, Hurricane Helene that many years ago, also then and now. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
I think they go in alphabetical order, like rotating through them. So next one will be like Ira or Eileen or some shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they alternate the boy girl thing. Like they'll start with Aaron, boy's name, and then next year it'll be Alexandra. So
yeah. I wonder if the rest of the world does anything like that for typhoons and shit. It's fun. I like that we name our storms here, give them a little personality. It's so interesting to me that there are people who live in those natural disaster zones that are cyclical like that. Like if you live down there on the coast of Florida, every year a hurricane hits you, and if it doesn't, you're like, "Oh, weird year, huh? No hurricane this year." Well, probably get 2 next year, right? Right on us. Yep. That's how it'll go. Hope it doesn't destroy our home this time. It's like that's just part of your existence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to some extent, there are places where earthquakes are a thing, but they're still like rare, and very rarely are they consequential.
Yeah.
You know, Tornado Alley is a little overstated, right? The fact they call that Tornado Alley, I mean, it's not. They have 2 a year, right? That are like kill people. Seems rare.
That kill people? I don't know.
The Joplin one.
There was a lot of Joplin, Missouri got uprooted entirely. Like that whole city was destroyed.
I bet it's much nicer now, though.
Because I think of tornadoes as like
the whole town.
Joplin was like a disaster. I think everybody was seeking shelter in
Missouri. Like it was ruined.
Yeah, I don't think their homes were structurally sound or something because like a F4 hit them and sucked them off the earth.
Yeah,
that was.
It's not a very wealthy area. So like
they trailer house.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of recourse for escaping it.
You got to dig a hole. My great grandma lived in a trailer. She had a storm pit.
The scary part about tornadoes compared to hurricanes is like a hurricane, you always have a ton of lead time. Whereas with the tornadoes, it can just be like, hey, huge storm here. Could be nothing. Could be catastrophic. And then you don't know until it's touching
I've seen
down.
Wizard of Oz.
If you're close, you're in trouble. Although tornadoes are really cool to
You think any kids, Wizard of Oz came out like, I don't know, 30s or something, 40s maybe. And can you imagine, like back then, movies were a lot more powerful. You think of how people react to The Exorcist, and this is going back this is 40 years before they were reacting to The Exorcist. You can imagine some little kid maybe sees Dorothy get sucked up in a tornado, and she gets to a magical world full of colorful characters, literally colorful characters, and hell, you snap your ankles together at the end, you go back home, ruby slippers to boot, literally to boot. You think any of these kids walked into a tornado after they saw Wizard of Oz? You think that ever happened?
I would hope not, because it would be really scary walking into one. I remember you guys probably didn't have to do it because you did different drills for whatever your natural disasters were. You did tornado drills.
We go out the hallway, everybody
a few times a year.
Fetal position in the hallway, sitting on your butt with a book over your head.
Yeah, I remember we'd have to go into the cubby area and sit there in the same way with like our heads under, and they'd be like, "This is the tornado. You know, if it goes over here, stay down and you'll be safe." And I wanted to be like, what are we doing here? Like, it would tear us into the sky. It's going to rip this entire building off if it comes over us and then suck us up. Like, what sort of security? It could just
break the windows, right? Turn it into an.
Oh yeah, if it just was a raunchy storm or something up. Yeah, I was always thinking though, because I was 6. Like, if it comes directly over this building, like there's no saving us. Like, we're going to get just sucked right up. It's going to take the whole building, and then I'm going to be killed by a 2x4 slamming into the side of my head.
Was your school made of brick with a strong, like?
Ours was block. It was like all that government block, and the hallways. I was about to say the hallways, the walls were so tall, but
yeah.
They were like twice my height. Maybe like
way more, like 10. I remember them being like vaulted ceilings, but I'm sure
our
they were
jungle
tall.
gym must have been 100 feet.
Dude, I went back and looked at that slide, and it was
the soccer balls they had there. My God, the size of your torso, these things.
I went back and looked at the slide that was at my elementary school, at my kindergarten, my original kindergarten. It was scary. They sent us up that thing at 5. I mean, it was just all metal, a little bit. It was rusty, but polished rust. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't rough at all. It was just rust colored. And it was that flat sheet metal that gets 1,000 degrees in the summer heat. And it must have been 12 feet up that ladder. It was so fucking tall to send a 5-year-old up.
Dude, when in my elementary school, it had this jungle gym. It was the shape of a funnel with the big side down. And in the middle, there was a pole. So you could like climb up the, pole structure that it was made out of pipes and then slide down in the middle. And I saw it like as an adult. I'm like, this thing, or like a later adult, 18. And I'm like, 1, it really was big. 2, it was in such a state of disrepair. I remembered it being rusty and awful, and my clothes would have like this rust down the middle of them. My hands would be all colored because I was like a monkey all over that thing. And then I came back to it. I'm like, I can't believe they let kids play on this tetanus village, but we did.
Man, it was so fun, not fully knowing all the dangers you were in. Although there was this one kid on my grade school playground who was like actively stabbing people with the shards of wood chips. He had a troubled home life.
That's good.
Yeah.
Poor little guy. Yeah. My cousin got grievously injured in a playground accident. He did that thing you do where you get the swing really rocking and rolling, and then you jump out, and he landed funny on his knee, and one of those sharp wood chips went through his knee, like in one side and out the other. Like through the good part of your knee where all the connectives in your kneecap is. And they just like stitched that up and went to the emergency room, but they didn't do any internal medicine. And he's still like, that's not his good knee. Yeah, he was supposed to, I've told the story before, but he had the surgery not just scheduled. He was there in a hospital gown, and they were about to come back and give him the good stuff and start calming him down. But he was sitting there in, bare ass in a hospital gown, and all of the gadgets and the machinery and like the atmosphere got to him. And he went outside to smoke a cigarette and never came back.
I've been watching a bunch of those hurricane clips. The Fort Myers is gone. Like,
how
huge
gone?
Portions of it.
Like, dude, Florida's so flat. I want normally when I see a flooded out area, I'm like, oh, sure. But they have set the camera up to make that particular area look as flooded as possible. But Florida is so flat. I wonder how widespread the flooding is. Does it go on as far as the eye can see, like when the Mississippi overflows?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just like watched the clips I've seen where it's like boats being thrown into buildings, like being thrown into the second floor of the building or third floor, or like a clip where it's like, this is Fort Myers, a camera out the third story window of an apartment building, and it's like the water's only like a foot below where they are. And I'm also like I guess lots of people just stay every year and you're just like, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to roll the dice. But
I mean, I don't blame people. Like, I feel like I guess it's going to kind of happen with the coronavirus. Not like, do you remember before COVID, remember how many times like the killer flu, like the bird flu, H1N1, we always thought that civilization was going to end. Ebola. Yeah. It happens a lot with hurricanes in Florida too, and I think it was it last year or 2 years ago? It was sometime within the past 3 or 4 years where there was going to be what was supposed to be like the killer murder hurricane coming through Florida that was supposed to cause like terror and kill thousands of people and blah, blah, blah. And they hyped I think there are news of that. Is his name Shepard Smith or is it Mark Shep? Who's the guy on Fox News? Shepard Smith, where he's talking about how like, yeah, if you're here, you're going to die. You're going to die if you stay for this hurricane. And it came.
Oh, I can hear him saying it. Yeah.
He actually was. He was super dry and he was like trying to like hype it up basically. But yeah, and then nothing happened.
The people who were here
are no longer
dead.
Actually, wait, have you seen it or are you just like ad-libbing?
Oh, I was just ad-libbing.
No, I'm pretty sure he actually says this. Yeah, like
the people who are
there were 2 people in there and that woman's husband, he's dead. Yeah. And
at the end, doesn't he go, and your kids, they're dead too.
Like, yeah, it's a really funny clip. But yeah, and it ended up not happening. And then even here, like everybody call me dumb and I'm not trying to be an anti-alarmist or whatever. I'm not trying to say I know anything about Florida because it's my first year living in Miami, but a lot of people were making fun of me like, oh, you got to leave. I think we had like rain yesterday. And I'm like, okay.
It came in a little north of you, I think.
I guess, yeah, but it's basically like nothing. Yeah.
I'm disappointed in Biden, really. Like I read it on the
disappointed. Internet. Is this the Republican? I'm disappointed Biden's going to stop the hurricane.
He didn't even attempt to fix the hurricane's path with a black Sharpie. Like Trump would have given it a go.
That is
the weaponry that man has at hand. If you don't put a strike on the next hurricane, then you are literally committing treason.
On the side of the hurricane.
Trump at least considered nuclear weapons for the last hurricane. I thought about it.
All right, think about that for a second. When Trump saw a threat coming in the United States, you know what he thought? I got to stop this no matter what. Have you guys thought outside of the box ever about ways to stop these things? Like a nuke.
That's going to be a series of fans, the biggest fans you've ever seen. Blow even harder than
they just blow in the opposite direction of the hurricane. I don't see why that would fail.
People are talking about like that. That's short-sighted. What it should have done.
It's feeding off the ocean. All right. So what if we move the ocean? Okay, we just push that back a little bit. Now, what's the hurricane going to do? Let's push the ocean back 50 miles. We'll be good.
Just drain it. Where the water is, pull it out and put it to the side like you will.
You don't actually want to destroy the hurricane. That's short-sighted. You want to utilize and harness, control look at the damage a hurricane can do. That's way cooler and more powerful than anything we've got other than nukes. And there's no fallout. So if we can control hurricanes, we control fucking.
You want to control I think earthquakes. Out west, you could.
I keep seeing how low the lake levels are and stuff. Why don't they just take the hurricane and make it go to Utah?
True.
They should. Do they have low lake levels over there? Are they going through a dry spell?
Massively low. Yeah, it's like a huge thing. I remember, I'll make this up, like 12 years ago, the lakes and river and the water levels in California and that area, Colorado, etc., were so low. It was this tragic, never going to recover thing. And then it recovered. And now it's back. It's so low, never going to recover again. And I don't know. Maybe
They always say
that. The dip.
Have you guys ever, have any of you run into that issue that seemingly is very common where you can't get water? Like you just can't get any today? That's just never happened.
Wait, where at?
You at the store?
I don't know. In your lives at any moment ever. Like they always talk about these water shortages, and they're like, turn the faucet off when you're brushing your teeth. I turn them both on the whole time.
My shower's running right now.
I got 12.
We know that Woody's shower is not running right now because if it was, it'd be like a public announcement, like a FEMA would be deployed to Woody's house.
It's part of my tradition. I run a piping hot shower during every PKA.
There's something to be said for like the scariest things. You mentioned that without water thing. I think anytime like things change that are really familiar, I think things get really scary. So like if you've ever gone through like school when there are no students there, it's very eerie. Yeah. I think the scariest moment of my entire life, I say scary, but like just very eerie feeling was driving up and down the 405 at rush hour hours and having there be no traffic in 2021 where the coronavirus, when it first hit and every city went dark, or not dark, but like quiet and nobody was anywhere, and you drive and every place is empty, nobody's driving on the interstate for the only time in your life in LA, there's no traffic. But when you go to the grocery stores, there's like a line of carts outside the store. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in a post-apocalyptic movie.
Dude, the opposite happened here. Like, so I, being a liberal or something, and staying inside, obeying all the COVID restrictions, etc. And, we're like quarantining to the point where I've barely left the house in 3 months or something like that. And then I venture outside because I have to, into this freaking post-apocalyptic Neverland. And the traffic is down by like a third. And I'm like, wait a minute. You guys have been outside all this time? Like, the traffic is down by a third. It's better. No, I haven't had COVID.
Do you want to talk about Houston? Because it's literally the most rainfall from a storm in our history, right? Like it's like 52 inches or something it dumped. I keep seeing that, 15 trillion gallon figure thrown out there. It's at first it was like, oh man, this is so terrible. And it still is terrible, but the outpouring of assistance. I saw that line of people going into the disaster with pickup trucks and boats, people who purchased boats to go help Texans who were from Oklahoma and, New Orleans or Louisiana and neighboring states. Really great to see that.
In other parts of Texas.
All over the country, of course, Texas. And they, it says some really bad stuff about our infrastructure. But it also just says so many great things about like, how good people are and how kind we can be to one another. I saw a black guy in a parking lot with a shotgun, and these people pulled up next to him. Well. These two ladies were next to him. They're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm protecting the stores. We're not going to have any looting. You need food, that's one thing. I'm not going to see you taking a flat screen TV out of this place." And then he yells at someone who's off camera, "Do it! I dare you! I'm ex-SWAT. I'll cut your ass in half." And it's like, yeah, like these people aren't going to have that. They're not going to be disgraced the way that, like, you saw a lot of bad stuff.
He had hearing protection on.
Ready to roll.
That's how ready he was to shoot someone. Like, he was wearing it the way I do, with like one ear here. He was one quick snap and a pull from busting that guy's head like a clay. And you know what? I would have been on his side.
I don't think
not really. If he murdered him, but not for real. But yeah, I liked to see that. It was like someone taking enough pride in their community that, like, no,
that's what it was.
Now, you know what? Nobody's going to stop this from happening, and so this guy's going to stop this from happening.
He's like, I'm protecting these local businesses. We're not going to have that kind of stuff here. And I love
it. Wasn't an AT&T store or something where it's like they'll just replace it. It was like some mom and pop grocery store or something where, they're not going to be able to recover if someone goes in there and steals all their merchandise.
I heard an argument for stealing food that actually kind of won me over. They're like, if you don't steal this food and eat it during this time of emergency, it's going to rot. It's not like this food's going to be okay 6 weeks from now. You might as well steal it. It's perishable.
In the video, the girl was like, "Yeah, that guy just dropped that flat screen TV." So like, it was they were stealing TVs.
Well, okay, yeah. That it's really hard to defend that. But
food, who cares?
The food and stuff. It was like, like, I guess loot the grocery store. What else is going to happen? I mean, it's going to rot.
If it's like just starting to rain and you burst into Walmart, like, it's time to survive, like people are still in line, like then you're just an asshole. But I totally get the pilfering, not even pilfering, and not even looting food. I think you would say salvaging with food because like you're trying to get something that you do need. Like I get stealing food. Like if I see a fat person running in to steal food, I'm like, all right, ulterior motives here. You went to straight to the bakery section and you bought and you're stealing ice cream cake. Don't even try and play this off. Like that kind of shit.
I'm gonna melt anyway.
Yeah,
they're just eating it in place at the freezer door.
My wife is legit worried. She has some stress about flooding at our house. She's like, Hurricane Harvey's headed this way. What if there's a flooding here? She's seeing it. I'm like, baby, take it from someone who flies over this area like 3 times a week. The river would have to raise 60 feet. We live on top of the hill. There's like, look at every neighbor we have. They're all lower than us, like elevation wise. And we're fine. We're fine. But it's a stress point of her. I think I made her feel better. But yeah, Crazy.
Yeah, that brings us to Irma, because she may have something to worry about with Hurricane Irma. Do you want to bring up that graphic? I'll link it.
I want to see this. You're talking about this before the show started.
I saw today with
I'll
Irma that it's like they're not even 100% sure it's not going to veer off or fizzle out or something, right? Like
they're not 100. Well, it's
Right.
definitely not going to fizzle out, because that's just the nature of the hot and cold water and the pressure systems. It's going to hit a Category 5. The real question is, does it make landfall on the East Coast, or does it brush against it, sending lots of rain showers, or does it go against what these models here would show, and does it scoop on into the Gulf Coast, where it would empower itself some more and just basically be another Harvey, but even more powerful?
Well, that would suck.
It certainly would.
Oh.
I don't know. Which one of these is Irma?
It's the one that's out in the Atlantic.
Bottom right.
Yeah, if you click the link there, you can sort of go. It's the one in the bottom right,
So
and you can skip forward in time to like the 8th, or if you go at the bottom, there's Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah, I
Monday.
see.
Click Friday.
Huh. What about this one up by Halifax? This one by
That's-
Nova Scotia.
I think
St.
that's the
John's.
remainders of Harvey heading off.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know where it was at this point.
It's mostly dissipated. It's over. I got a hell of a rain shower all night last night and most of today. I would assume that that's what it was. But if you click Friday the 8th, you can see this thing. This thing is over the Dominican Republic and Cuba, and you can sort of, I don't know if on this one you can, but on the other site I used, you could determine the wind. Yeah, the wind speed's at 190 as I'm clicking there on the inside. Oh, that can't be right. It says 310.
You're at
No,
wind
that can't
speed?
be right. Well, yeah, you want to, if you put the marker on the inner wall. I don't know if that's kph or what, but
So
definitely going to be a Category 4 or 5. It's a real question as to where it goes. That could be terrible if that goes into the Gulf, because there's so many. I keep hearing, that so many of the levees and the rivers are at the maximum level, and they're letting water into the city to keep them from bursting. All they need is another 24 inches of rain to just turn a disaster into a catastrophe.
I wonder how long it takes for the water to clear.
They're saying weeks. It has because it has to go through drainage systems. It has to. I was reading a little bit about it today because I'm curious about that too. They were saying good old-fashioned evaporation when they get the drain, when the storm drains start working correctly, when the pumps get back online, then maybe. And then last night I was watching CNN. There's all these like things being caused by the flooding. There's a hydrogen peroxide plant where there was 2 large explosions last night, and 10 deputies inhaled the fumes and had to go to the hospital. But like they're keeping the crews so far back from that, you don't even know what's going on. They're saying black smoke's coming from this chemical plant. There's going to be such an ecological, environmental disaster there. Forget about what's in that water besides sewage and the cholera and the E. coli and stuff. What about the chemicals? What about all of the oil and all those refineries are there? I wouldn't be surprised if there's
Kyle, it'll all flow safely back into the sea.
Oh,
Nature's dumpster.
okay.
Yeah, nature's dumpster. That's where all of the things we're not interested in go. And the ocean does something,
and then
cleans it
Irma
up.
will pick it all back up and distribute it right back onto us.
I don't want to
For real though, like 35 death toll. I think that's what it is so far, around 35. Think about if this happened in a not first world country, something this severe in a city as big as Houston. I think it's the 4th biggest city in the country, one of the biggest in the world. The death toll would be in hundreds of thousands if we didn't have like first world country.
Of climate change. I mean, this is more severe weather systems like this. I'm not saying this one is or isn't. I know nothing about that particularly for this, but this type of thing is what you see with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's
maybe
totally possible. I'm just saying, like, think about how much, like, obviously that many people dying is awful. It's
no, I don't.
Like, you never think that you could, but like, think about how, like, if this happened in India, hundreds of thousands dead, even if you pretend India has the same population as us, like, or you would think so, right? Like,
okay.
I know if
I
it
might
hits
be
Haiti,
a profiteering asshole, but does anyone else see business opportunities in this? I mean, if
it's
you're
gonna
a
be a
plumber
boom.
or an HVAC guy or a framer or working anywhere in the trades, seriously consider moving to Houston. and working there for the next
developer.
couple of years, or real estate developer, like there's a lot of opportunity. We have a place that's going to rebuild. They've had a lot of damage, and people are going to be charging premium prices because supply and demand is wildly out of whack right there. There's a business like in my universe is from a while back, and they did environmental cleanup. That was their business. And to hear my father describe it, he's like, the guy was just churning away, making $400,000, nothing. And then Katrina comes along. Boom, they have like a 7 million plus year, and now he's like in a different stratosphere in terms of wealth. And it's like, yes, yeah. So what do you do? Are you a plumber? Are you even an auto repairman might clean up down there?
You want to be one-stop shop. You want to show up.
I'm going to open up
there.
a sponge store.
You want to show up down there. You want to show up down there and offer a one-stop shop. Like, look, we're going to go in there. We're going to gut the whole first floor. We're going to drain any water that's in your sub-basement. We're going to like rip all the dry wall out. We're going to come into your house, and in 3 months, we're going to give it back to you brand new. Like, oh, you got a hole in your roof? We do that too. Like, if you could do that, and you'd really clean up.
That guy, lots of people will.
Like you said, that
even
sounds
the HVAC
nasty.
subcontractor that the guy you described hires is also going to clean up. There's such an opportunity to be made out of this disaster, and I feel like there's a lot of people who have the skill set to take advantage of it, who are just going to sit in their rut in Wyoming doing what they've always done because they're not like ambitious enough to go down there. And I don't feel like it's evil. You're going to have happy customers. The customers will determine whether or not you're good or bad. Go down there and help them with their supply and demand issues. Do something.
That person, like the only reason that they'll be able to quickly, like you were saying, let us take us over for 3 months and we'll get you your house back. Like if there wasn't a price incentive for companies to go there and do something like that, they'd be shit out of luck getting their house back the way it was, or they'd have one contractor doing it for years on end. Like if anything, it seems like these people are like, all right, yeah, I understand there's a premium because our house and literally every other house was destroyed, but I'd much rather pay a premium and maybe go into debt or whatever, but have a home again. Like have a house. Like that's the better option.
Yeah.
Only 15% of those homes have flood insurance.
That's true.
But get in the game.
That's a scary number.
It is, but the government is going to bail them out. Which brings me to a related topic. This Houston area is filled with politicians that didn't help at Sandy. When Sandy hit New York and New Jersey, they were like, liberals. Now it hit the red state, and everyone is like, hey, I remember. But they'll get their money. The Republicans own pretty much every branch of government right now, so it's not like the Democrats could even play revenge if they would.
Yeah, that wouldn't go
most
too
of the
well.
Funding is coming from the state level at this point right now,
and from public money. I saw Kevin Hart. Yeah. Kevin Hart, the richest man in comedy, stepped up big with $25K.
K. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I saw JJ Watt, who plays for the Houston Texans. He's got something rolling now where $10 million has been raised. Like it's been I went to his Twitter, just 12 million. Shiz just said he's killing it. So awesome for him. I don't know anything about the Houston Texans, but I really like JJ Watt now. Seems like a stand-up guy.
Donald Trump donated $1 million today.
I saw that and I didn't believe it.
$1 million.
Because he always lies about his donations. Like, they're never true. It's always like someone else's money. Or like, he was supposed to donate his presidential salary, didn't do it.
Well, you can't. He was going to defer it, but then they were like, well, we have to pay you. That's just the deal. I
Lots of
what he'll
presidents
eventually
throughout
do with the money.
history have donated their salary to other people. And Trump said he would, but hasn't thus far.
Has he gotten his first check, though?
So
how do they pay the president? I bet a monthly?
I bet along with everyone else's payroll.
Like $1 million is so much money. But when I know somebody is a billionaire and they donate $1 million, like my first thought is always like, oh, you could have done more. But then like I also think if I was a billionaire, I would see the logic in being like if I, owned Wendy's and I was worth $8 billion and something like this happened, like I could totally rationalize, like I'm going to donate $1 million to this. Like that is a lot. That's a lot for everybody but me. There you go. Perfect. I feel great. Like it's, and I know that they're not like these billionaires aren't sitting there liquid with, just Scrooge McDuck money sitting in a vault that they're hoarding. But I don't know. Do you kind of get the same thing of where you're like, oh, really? You know, King of Saudi Arabia, you donated $2 million to this cause. You're worth $30 billion.
I got that feeling about Kevin Hart because, like, someone Google Kevin Hart. Chiz, tell us how much Kevin Hart's worth. I'm gonna guess 250 million to 500 million. That
110 million.
It's
gonna guess
the under on 250.
It's you'd be right. It's 120 million according to Chiz. 120 million. And look,
I undershot it. I lose.
We're really I'm sure everyone's really thankful for that $25,000, but we're all thinking the same thing, right? Like,
you're one step above Joel Osteen.
Yeah. like I'm sure there's plenty of like local business owners who are ponying up more than that, who are worth 800,000, who are worth 1.3 million, and they're coming up with 25K.
Does Kevin Hart have any connection to the area?
I don't know.
Okay.
Beyonce does. She's from Houston. I think she dropped $1 million or so, like, or as much as she could. She said, which that's not true.
Which is a lot. But, yeah,
that's well, as much as you could is probably like 90 or $100 million. But look, not to quibble over people's donations.
No, but it would be like me donating, $1.95. And then like putting that news out there, like put the press release out. I'm writing this off. $1.95 straight to the cause. That can buy a fifth of a gallon of gasoline at that one asshole's gas station that's charging $20 a gallon. Did you guys hear about that?
Okay, let's talk about price gouging, because I knew that price gouging can be a positive sometimes, as insane as that sounds. So I looked it up, and here's some actual reasons why it's a good idea. Without price increases, many people buy extra supplies just in case, regardless of what they've got tucked away in their houses or what supplies they already have. They'll go in there and they'll buy 5 generators, and then they'll turn around and start selling them for profit and stuff. Price increase encourages conservation of the resources that people already have. The ability to raise prices encourages businesses to stock excess reserves. It's not always an evil capitalist trying to make money off of suffering. Sometimes it's just the market adjusting for a catastrophe.
Yeah, for the new enormous demand. That's a really good way to articulate it, because I hadn't considered that before. Like if I were at that gas station and I were 5 cars back and it was normal prices for gas, and there's some dude up there filling up his 9th can, just in case. It's like everybody else in this line is paying for your safety right now. Like we're taking extra time, going to get flooded. We're not going to get what we need. You're going to have 10 times as much as you need, and you're going to sell it to someone. Like I honestly, my gut reaction to the $20 gallon of gas, I'm like, but this does actually make sense.
Well, what if the gas is like 5 or 7 instead? I mean, would that also have those positive effects?
I bet it probably trended up. I bet it didn't go from $2.15 or $2.95 to $20 right away. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds awful, and I mean, but I don't think it's always an evil thing that's happening. Sometimes it might be the best case scenario to make as many people safe and well as possible.
Yeah, it might be.
The end result could end up being much better for the populace. And if I had a case of water, I certainly wouldn't price gouge anyone. I'd be like, dude, come on, come on. You want a couple bottles?
Do you think the people doing that though? That's what they're thinking. This is for the best of everyone.
No, it doesn't matter what they think though. It's the end effect. It's what
I'm not entirely sold on that argument yet. I can hear what you're saying about maybe there's some benefits to it. Maybe I'd want to hear more about that. But
there's definitely some benefits to it.
My suspicion is these people are not doing this out of their thought that this will help the most number of people if I make the most money here. And I gotta think that motivation matters to some degree. Like retroactively, you're denying your neighbors.
No, go ahead.
Denying your community, denying your gas, you're denying your community, denying your neighbors things they need right now.
You're only denying poor people these things.
That makes it better, right?
Yeah.
If filthy, like if you were at a store and they were quickly running out of Aquafina water bottles that you're going to need, and it turns out that store left them at $2.99 for a 30-pack. All weekend, and you get there and 100% of everything is gone, Whereas if they had changed it,
if I get there too, and they're up to like $1,000 a piece or a couple $1,000.
It wouldn't be a grand because there's a point at which people just wouldn't be able to functionally pay for it. But if it's $25-$30 for that 30 pack, $1 a bottle, maybe now you don't go, it's $3. I probably need 500 bottles of water because this could take 6 months. Instead, you might go, all right, I'll
maybe
grab
the problem
2 of these. That's going to be plenty of time to run out.
Here we are talking about this, and we're thinking about, I'm applying rationality to it, and perhaps in that situation, rationality isn't a part of it. But if I look at that and go, it's $30 or $100 or $5 for those, and I rationally need those to survive, I don't really care the price. So, and I might even think about that in the sense of, all right, yeah, I can't really afford to pay $100 for a carton of water regularly. But in that scenario, I could still overstock with that price and not no one is saved. All that happens. In what sense? Why not?
If it's let's say it's a $50 or $100, to use your example, case of water.
Yeah.
And let's say you showed up and you think you need 2 cases of water, and so you'd spend $200, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you would do. If you showed up and they were $3, they hadn't changed the price, all that water is going to be gone, and some dude out there has 13 cases of water that he's reselling to people for $5 a pop. So it just, this is a good example, Kyle, of something where on the face value, you look at it and you're like, oh, I already made up my mind, asshole. But then really, when you do think about it, this makes sense. It is conserving the current supply in a way.
Hotel rooms. So we had a power outage here a couple of years ago. And, the first day you're like, no big deal. It's cold showers are crazy, right? I feel like a psychotic. And then day 2 comes around. It's like, I'm going to go to my dad's house and take a shower. And then day 3 comes around. You're like, tomorrow morning, it'll just be on, right? And then day 4 comes and you're like, all right, let's start looking for hotels. And then we started looking and it's like, they're all sold out. Every hotel room is sold out. And I'm talking about a 30-mile radius. Every direction, 30 miles, they're sold out. It's like motel room that I'd never go to. 25 miles away is $400 a night. We ended up driving halfway to Atlanta to get a hotel room at some place called Chateau Elan.